Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live Lunch. And I think, is this our anniversary? It might be this
Not
week.
quite. This is number 51.
Okay, so next week is 1 year of Live Lunch. We should have party hats or something, shouldn't we? Celebrate. Maybe not, but anyway, welcome everyone. So we are live on the Green Umbrella Facebook page, Green Umbrella YouTube channel, Christina's LinkedIn. You may notice that our esteemed leader is not with us at the moment. That's because she is just finishing up a speaking engagement with Team, so the Employment Agents Movement. She's been doing a virtual meeting and sharing her marketing wisdom. So I'm sure she will be joining us shortly, but for now, we get to run riot without her. So if you're along for the ride, say hello in the comments. And yeah, so we'll pick up kind of as we would normally with marketing updates from the week on the big news and what we're working on. Now, where do we go first? I should pick on Emily just because she's taken a big sip of water.
I knew you were going to do that. I take that capacity. No, joking.
You chose that moment.
In case anybody noticed, you noticed that earlier, Amanda, didn't you? And I haven't had the chance to explain, although everybody else already knows that I have now changed office. Only a year almost of working from home, and I've decided to get a desk and not work at the dining table.
It's so good.
You know we're going back to the office next week, yeah?
But no, I think, well, I just got to the point where I was working, well, you've all seen, everybody's seen, I was working downstairs with all the windows and things around me, and it was freezing, and I saw a desk on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought, I'll get it, basically. I'd worked up here temporarily when we were getting flooring done, and it was way warmer, and I was obviously freezing downstairs all the time. So anyway, I've bought it. The amount of use I'll get out of it, we'll see. But I've used it so far, and it's great. So I have to see how much longer Christina allows us to work from home.
So
before it
finally, 51 weeks in, you've got a good work from home setup.
I was just a bit late. It's here, it's comfortable, it's warm, suitable. But yeah, no, I'm happy with it. But anyway, today I wanted to talk briefly about Instagram. If I'm looking down, it's because I've made some notes. But I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else saw, that on Instagram they are adding some new functions to protect younger users. So if I'm honest, obviously, as I've mentioned before in this podcast, I don't have podcasts. I don't have children, so I don't really look into these sort of things. But I would have thought that this was already in place. Apparently it isn't, but it is coming in place now. So one of the things that they are doing is they will be adding restrictions that will prevent adults from messaging users under 18 who don't follow them. So I thought that was good. And the other thing we're doing is adding new alert prompts within message threads that will encourage younger users to be cautious in conversations with adults. So what will happen is a safety notice will appear when an adult who has been exhibiting potentially suspicious behaviour is interacting with them in their DMs. So I've just got another tab open here, but basically the safety notice that pops up will say things that you can do, and it says restrict, report, block. And it's basically saying that something like that might come up. For example, if an adult is sending a large amount of friend or message requests to people under 18, we'll use this tool to alert the recipient within their DMs and give them an option to end the conversation, block, report, or restrict the adult. So yeah, I thought they were quite interesting developments. Like I said, not having children, I would have thought they were already doing that. I'm surprised they aren't, but I'm pleased that they're doing it now. And I thought it was quite an interesting development, and something that is definitely a good move, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, same boat as you, Emily. I don't have small people in the house or teens to think about.
Right.
But yeah, it sounds like a good move. I mean, from Jane, just to pick on you from a kind of parent point of view, are your children of the age where they're wanting kind of Facebook or Instagram or social media accounts.
They're of the age where they wouldn't be seen dead on Facebook, to be fair. But they do have Instagram accounts. Yeah, Facebook's definitely not where you go if you're 13, 14.
Yeah, that's the oldies,
but
isn't it?
yeah, they do have Instagram accounts. They do have private accounts. We do talk about it, and hopefully they behave safely on there. But as a parent, you'd never 100% know what your children are up to, so you have to do the best you can. But it's good to hear that they are putting things like that in place to make the children more proactive in it as well. Actually, they're making them have the choice to block or whatever, rather than just making that decision for them. So I do think that's quite good.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, is it sort of, like you said, Jane. So I imagine they have these sort of conversations in schools and things as well, with sort of protecting yourself as a younger person online. The fact that they're putting up these alerts and things and making not children but younger people think about it. Something else that they were talking about was how obviously even though the age to join Instagram is 13, people can quite easily get around that by basically having in a fake age. So that's something else that they were looking into, and with the fact that they're trying to sort of merge all the messages as well and having encrypted messages. That's again something that they'll need to look into and work out a way around that to protect younger users. But something that I didn't know, which I read from that article, was apparently even law enforcement can't access encrypted messages. And that probably shows my lack of technology knowledge. I'm probably laughing at me, but I didn't know that at all. So I thought that was quite interesting, and it's good that they're being proactive and thinking about these things rather than thinking, oh, we just want to merge all these messages and it'll be fantastic. Actually, there's things that aren't fantastic about it, and they need to get around that as well. So yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting update and something to keep an eye on and see sort of what comes from it, really.
Definitely.
Oh, there's so hello to Robert and Jason, who've joined us, and Paul, as always, who've joined us in the comments. Robert, I don't have the power to move your comment on screen, but I don't know if Jane you're able to do that. But he's added basically saying, we wouldn't give too much credence to what the schools are teaching on cyber and online safety. And I think there's probably two aspects for this. So for us as adults on a kind of online cybersecurity, it is often about kind of protecting your data and your passwords and access to your credit cards. But for children just coming into the world of social media and maybe thinking it's very glamorous to work in a social media and marketing sphere, there's kind of the general cyber safety, don't get hacked and all that kind of thing. But then equally, there's the kind of more sinister side of grooming and adults contacting them. So it's, I would hope that the platforms are doing as much as they can to protect. But yeah, it's a shame that the stuff that's going on in schools maybe isn't quite up to the level it should be. Okay, so I don't want to kind of spend too much time going down that route rather than talking about what kind of is going on in the marketing world. So anything else, Emily, that you've been working on or you've seen this week that is worth a share?
I guess the only other thing I kind of related to that, but not, is I've seen a poll or a petition, going around online at the moment where people have been talking about in order to set up a new social media account, you should provide a formal proof of ID, like a driver's license or a passport or something like that. And I guess that sort of links to that, obviously, with the fake ages and that sort of thing. It would avoid that. But yeah, that's something that I think is interesting. Obviously, we've spoken about it before in terms of sort of people setting up fake accounts in order to troll or to leave negative comments or to bully or harass anybody. So I personally think that's excellent, and I really hope it's something that they do take on board. But again, we'll just have to wait and see with that one. But other than that, I think I've just been cracking on. I've been quite busy this week with blogs and other bits and bobs going on in the background. But those are the two things that caught my eye.
The whole proof of age, proof of ID, that kind of does the rounds quite a lot, I think, on social media, particularly I think Twitter, where some of the trolling is quite prolific. So I know a lot of sports people get it, a lot of celebrities get it. I don't know how people would feel about that. So if anyone in the comments, how would you feel about having to prove who you were and your ID before you open up an account? How do we feel about it? I'm not sure really how I feel about it, whether it's something I would willingly do. You know, it almost feels a bit like if you're having to go, here's my passport or my driving license.
I guess it's different, but when you're signing up for these profiles anyway, the amount of information that Facebook and Instagram and Facebook and Instagram are the same, but do you know what I mean? The amount of information that any of these social media platforms can get on you is they can get tons of information. So unless you're extremely secure and private in your account, but even then, the companies themselves would still have a fair amount of information on you to be able to set up the account in the first place. So therefore, having a form of ID to prove that you are who you say you are, I don't know, maybe I'm not looking at it in the right way, but I don't personally view that as being a problem. But
I don't like the idea personally, just because of when they get hacked, the Cambridge Analytica thing and all of that. I don't have my true date of birth in my Facebook account, and I do not have my phone number in there. And I know that's not the most cyber safe thing in the world that you can do, but I don't want my date of birth and my name getting out there if someone hacked into Facebook. So I've put a fake one in there. Yeah. Although I did accidentally once make myself under 18 on something and then got thrown out because I put the wrong year in. But that was another story. But yeah, so I don't know if I don't mind slightly there being more checks, but I don't want my entire life story and my national insurance number in Facebook just so I can have an account.
I just don't see though I get that, and obviously that it's not a problem until it is a problem, but I just don't see how another way people can get around sort of the increase in trolling and online bullying without having some accountability, because I think with social media at the moment there is no accountability. You can set up a fake profile, you can say the most dreadful, horrible things and track you down. Whereas I think there are some countries that are already doing it, and they've seen a drop in sort of online bullying and things like that. So I don't know. I unless there's another way they could do it, which possibly there is. Maybe it hasn't been thought of yet, but I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I think
there's no easy answer, is there? Really?
Yeah.
There was the thing. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, but when there was all those LinkedIn accounts that sort of got blocked, didn't you have to upload passport or driving license then to get your account back anyway?
Yes, that is true. You had to upload a picture of either of those.
Yeah. But obviously that was a security thing, and that was about 2-3 years ago, was it?
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Like I said, is that it's not a problem until it is a problem, and if everyone's got all their passport or driver's license and Facebook has that and then it is hacked, well, obviously that's a disaster. But right now I can't see another way they can get around that, and there has been such an increase in that sort of thing recently, and I just don't see another way that they can get around that and make people have accountability for what they're saying online.
True. Yeah, it's I think it's a debate that's going to rumble, isn't it? And again, so Paul's made a point saying ID is good, it will reduce the amount of spam. So from a business point of view as well, so people that are kind of forever spamming out, get your discounted Ray-Bans, so it's not useful marketing messages. But then on the more serious side, potential abuse, it should limit that. But Robert's commented saying actually, for the sinister reasons, people will always find a way around it. If people really want to, they will find a way around it, which is true. And you're right, Emily. I think there's been some quite high-profile documentaries this week. There was one about Caroline Flack last night and the amount of abuse she was subject to online. I think you watched the Roman Kemp documentary, Emily, and potential there for men's mental health. So yeah, it's one of those things I think it is going to rumble.
I don't want to go too much into it. Obviously, we've spoken about it briefly already, but I think the thing about the documentary that I watched last night is, yes, it was men's mental health, but it wasn't just men. It was much younger teenagers, sort of 15 that were taking their own lives, 13. And I think that's the thing, is when I know when I was younger, when you guys were younger as well, if something were to happen at school, or say children were bullied or something like that, they can have their home life as an escape from that, because they could get away from it. Whereas now is much more difficult because everyone is online. They can't escape it as well. So I think there's two sides to it, and I think it's going to be an ongoing debate, but we'll have to see if it comes to fruition or not.
Okay. I feel like we could probably talk about this for the whole session, but let's move along to more kind of what's new and what's marketing-y. So, Jane, you said you've got quite a few updates from this week.
A few, mostly on the same subject, but so the thing that I've seen this week that I thought was really interesting, it's been around already, but it seems to be sort of getting much bigger, and that's virtual trying on and AR of shopping and things like that. So Snapchat have just bought a company called Fit Analytics, who are like a digital sizing company. So they're doing a bit of work with North Face and ASOS and Calvin Klein and people like that. And you basically put in photos of yourself into these sort of shopping channels or whatever, and they will suggest clothes that will suit you based on this digital sizing, excuse me, which I thought was really quite interesting. I mean, Snapchat have already done a sort of AR trying on thing that they did with Ralph Lauren and people like that, where your Bitmoji can put on a suit and you can kind of make a sort of cartoon version of yourself to see what you might look like in it. But this is sort of taking that a step further, really. And yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting, because especially obviously now we can't go to the shops, we can't try on things. So actually being able to upload a photo of yourself and have it suggest to you this top would look nice on your body shape or whatever is actually seems like a really good idea. I mean, obviously we'll all go back to the shops soon, hopefully. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. And at the same time, so Pinterest have sort of upped their skin tone thing. They've got a sort of skin tone feature that was sort of being tested. They're now starting to roll that out, where basically you choose your skin tone from a sort of palette of skin tones, and then when you search on clothing or hairstyles or whatever, it will bring back images that are closer to what you look like, basically, so that you can get an idea of what you're going to look like in if you're searching for outfits with jackets and jeans or whatever, you'll see people who are more akin to your skin tone wearing these things. And then moving on from that, there's an AR sort of makeup trying on thing, so you can choose your foundation and things like that based on it. You can put lipstick on, and it will show you in AR what you look like with that color of lipstick on, with the right skin tone that you have, kind of thing. So I thought that was quite useful. Google already have a sort of contract with L'Oreal and other makeup companies for a similar kind of thing with lipsticks and eyeshadows, and there's a few jewellery brands have done it as well. So you upload a photo of yourself, or just go on camera and you see what the necklace looks like on you, or the earrings, or whatever you've got. So I thought, it's really interesting, sort of the things that have come out of the pandemic, or maybe were happening anyway, but that have sort of revolutionised how we might shop in the future. So I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. It's
that's it.
Isn't it? I think like, when you see the clips of the people standing in front of the mirror and they could click through and choose that outfit. There's sort of they do TikTok style videos like that now, but you've seen it.
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool. And yeah, I wonder if, as you said, Jane, when people do start going back to the shops and things, whether they'll still push with that sort of technology or not. It'll be interesting, but I think it's something that people will enjoy to begin with anyway, and I wonder if it will take off, but I think it's a good idea. But then I'm a shopaholic.
Well, so am I. So, but then you could do it before you went out, couldn't you? So sit at home first, try all these things on, then go out and look at them in person, perhaps. So yeah, I don't know.
At home.
I don't think online shopping's ever going to go away, though.
I'm just thinking that most check shirts just look the same.
It can be your chance, to broaden horizons.
Yes, so you look like a striped one.
Couldn't do
it. Just to flag, I'm having a few internet problems, so if I I'm a bit blocky or I look like I'm not responding, I'm not being rude or just being disengaged. I'm having internet problems today. I've noticed it from my side, so apologies, gang here and anyone watching if it's coming across. So, but we'll push on. But
it just looks like you're glitching in the Matrix.
I'm just kind of in some weird parallel universe.
Yeah,
I mean that really is a great development, the AR, because yes, the shops are, fingers crossed, hopefully going to open, but I guess that's just for the UK. There's going to other global markets that are further behind us. It's like you said, is it the direction we were moving in anyway? It's just been accelerated, perhaps by global events, but yeah, it feels quite futuristic. I'm sure I've seen like old films where you could kind of swipe through and be like, oh, there's a match. This is your outfit you're going to wear today.
Yeah. Then you then get that outfit, don't you? They click a button and then suddenly they're wearing it. So that's what we need.
Well, you can just 3D print things probably in a few years at home. You just sort of buy it and then that'll be there.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from a marketing point of view, we haven't used the P word, pivot, for the better part of the year, but Christina's not here to help me off.
How's it gone? Or have I gone?
Yeah, she might have done. I don't know.
I'm a bit quiet.
Oh, there she is.
I'm back.
Yeah, strange. We couldn't tell if you'd quite gone or not.
I'm here. So from a marketing point of view, I know I read various kind of articles and bits of data around how much things like L'Oreal was one of the companies they talked about, because they relied so much on footfall in high street stores and department stores in particular. We can all picture whether you're male or female or don't identify as either, but everyone's been in a department store and knows that there are those counters with a very glossy looking staff that will offer you samples and try-ons, but that just wasn't possible. So their sales nosedived. So they've had to change their business and market different ways. So yeah, I think it's kind of it had to be done. And we've seen this week, so here's some of the big names that have suffered this week. Thorntons, and it feels like companies like that just haven't adapted. They're almost the kind of equivalent of the Blockbusters. So, and if anyone is too young to remember Blockbuster, which is possible now because it was quite a while ago, but I'm sure there were stories about how the owners were kind of like, no, it'll never happen, people always want to come and rent a video, or maybe a DVD or a Blu-ray if they were kind of that forward thinking. But
maybe a DVD of Father Ted.
Potentially, yeah. So Emily this week confessed that she didn't know Father Ted, wasn't familiar with it at all. So we've all kind of gone, how can you not know Mrs. Doyle and a lovely cup of tea? So I think she made us feel quite old. But yeah, it feels like the companies that haven't adapted both their business offering and their marketing strategy to support it. And to me, maybe, I don't know if you guys would agree, but Thorntons felt like somebody like that. They just haven't changed in years. They haven't changed what they do, what they offer. And, I know it's not a blame game, but you kind of think companies that have, like maybe an ASOS, Boohoo as well, has kind of been in the news for positive reasons. They're the ones that are going to thrive and do well out of this, the last 12 months and beyond, whereas those that haven't changed are the ones that are going to struggle.
I think we always say, don't you hear things about, as you said, Amanda, if you're not adapting, then you're not keeping up, and therefore you're not going to keep up with the new people that sort of come on the market that are willing to adapt and change. But I think it's I believe, although I might be wrong on this, I believe they are still selling their their products, they're just not having their stores. I don't know if that's correct.
Yes.
But I thought it was the case. So that's good because it's nice. And I love Thornton's chocolate.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, we'll have to see.
Note for Emily's eggs, Thornton. Mark, what about you this week? What have you been working on? What's happening in your world?
Pretty much websites again this week. So still working through various sort of client sites, whether it be updating or sort of new sites. I suppose the thing that sort of stood out this week, there's been a vulnerability found in a plugin called Elementor, which is a WordPress plugin, which is a page builder. It's not one that we use for our sites, but it is an extremely popular plugin. I think I read that there's sort of 7 million sites around the world using this plugin, and there's quite a serious sort of not breach on there, but a vulnerability found where that you could actually take over a site, you know, through the plugin. So if anyone is using Elementor, then you know, make sure that your plugin's up to date. They have patched it and things now apparently, but yeah, just check. You know, if you do your own web maintenance, just make sure it's up to date. Or if you've got someone that does that for you, you know, just make them aware if they're not aware that there has been this issue, and to get that updated really.
Okay, so that's a biggie, really. If you've got that, if you use that plugin on your WordPress site.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these things do happen, you know, regularly. I think it was just this one stood out just for the fact that it's probably one of the most popular sort of plugins for what it does. So you know, it made a bit more news that had happened. But again, you know, if these things are, you know, produced by, you know, decent developers, they're usually on top of these things before it even gets out there that there is actually a problem. So that was our phone. Yeah, it's as far as I know, they've got a fully patched version of it ready to download and things now. But yeah, I know we've got a few clients that certainly use it on their sites and things, so it's definitely worth checking that you're up to date on that one. But other than that, yeah, it's all been pretty much web for me. So as soon as we're done here, I'll be back with my head in the back of WordPress and carry on really.
We had a real flurry of websites almost this time last year, I think, when the first you know, everything kind of kicked in, and I think, you know, it's fair to say that was probably because a lot of people were saying, well, look, we're not going to be doing much business. So all those kind of marketing plans we've put on hold, and we've been meaning to do the website for ages, that really kicked in this time last year. But it doesn't really feel like it's let up for you over there. Like maybe there was a little dip in the summer, but websites really are kind of day.
I think it's probably a similar sort of thing with when the November lockdown hit. Again, people were starting to think, actually, I need to start planning, you know, for, you know, well, obviously, sort of hopefully next couple of months now coming out of lockdown and things. And, you know, some people are relaunching things. Some people, it's just coincidence. You know, some people, you know, we've got clients that perhaps had a site for a number of years, and it's time for a bit of a refresh and an update. We've got clients that are having little bits of mini rebrands, and then, you know, we've got sort of new clients as well. So yeah, it's a real mix of things. But I think, you know, it's probably again related to not quite the retail thing, but people are realizing that the online world, you know, has become increasingly more important. You know, we've obviously spoken on Live Lunch in the past about retailers and, you know, of any size that haven't got an online presence. You know, you've got to be in it to win it now. You've got to have a website. You know, so unfortunately, it's the way that things are sort of going, really.
Yeah, absolutely, I would agree. Where's my social snippet from this month? I've got some stats in there about social selling. Here it is, available now, everyone. Social snippet. So, available now on a good green umbrella website near you. So 55% of people claim to have bought products that through social media. or bought products, sorry. So that's over half of consumers that were surveyed. I can't tell you how big that sample size was, but it was, it's from Social Media Today, so it's a big data source generally. So some, actively made a purchase through social media. 87%, so that's an enormous amount, have been influenced by their purchasing decision. So they might have seen an ad or a review or just kind of been aware of a brand and then physically gone to store or, to the online store to make their purchase, which, I think, as you say, makes a real difference. So people, and again, I know I'm working with some people that not so much on the design side, but they need a copy rewrite across their website because they've shifted their offering slightly over the last 12 months. So they need to, whilst they don't need to do a full rebrand, they do need to do a shift around on kind of this is how they're positioned. We've had a comment from Nicola, who is apparently Christina's aunt. So, if you've got dish the dirt, then please let's hear about Christina. But so works in retail in the US, and so it's a really great conversation. She's actually going to be sharing kind of some of the details we're talking about with her leadership team to talk about moving forward. So yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see that we're kind of reaching a global audience at lunchtime as well. So I think it's probably breakfast time in the US if I'm going in the right direction. Okay, anything else, Mark?
I think that's been me really. It is, obviously had a few, different sort of odd jobs and things going on. Again, people perhaps tweaking what they're doing. So helping one client, with some presentation work where he's sort of slightly changed his tact in the recruitment industry. Normal bits and bobs really.
Business as usual. No let up for you, Mark.
Not at the minute. Not at the minute, thankfully.
So from my side of things, I've been working with a client, and this is a topic that really resonated with me over the last week, because we're talking about his LinkedIn presence and how to kind of make the most of, posting regularly, accessing his network, and he seemed really reticent to do this. So we've had a few conversations, and he put his posts out there, but just not very often. And, really kind of digging into the detail, I found out it's because he's dyslexic, so doesn't have the confidence to post because it's kind of holding him back. He doesn't want people to critique him or be kind of like, oh, you've made an error. Doesn't want to come across as kind of not knowing what he's talking about. So, which I thought was really fascinating, a challenge that perhaps those that don't suffer from dyslexia, it might not have ever occurred to us. So we started talking about tools that, people could use that would help them. So it would help build their confidence online. I suggested Grammarly, which is something that we use. Well, I know I certainly do. I think probably most of us, maybe not so much you, Mark, on the design side, but I use every day without fail. So it's a plugin, free. There are paid options for it, but the free version is absolutely adequate. But it's a plugin that you can use on Chrome. Jane, you might know more than me if it works with other browsers. I'm not sure.
I don't actually, because I only use Chrome, so I've never actually tried.
Yeah. I'm a Chrome girl. But yeah, it's a free plugin, and it will essentially read whether it's your social media post, whether you're writing an email, you might even be writing really long form copy like a blog or website copy, and it doesn't just pick up spelling and grammar. It kind of picks up things like the tone of your voice, whether you're using a passive voice or an active voice, whether the word fits in the sentence. So, a great example would be if you're using like you or your, or the different versions of their. Technically, you might not be spelling them wrong, but you might be using the wrong one in the wrong place, if that makes sense. So it picks up on that. It kind of, gives a little red squiggly line and tells you, do you want to, correct this? Or if your sentence is too long, it might offer you a way to rephrase it, or say kind of use different words. So And I think that's a fab tool. So if you're not using it, just head to the Grammarly website, download the plugin. It's super tool. But yeah, I wondered if anybody else had any recommendations of how we could get around that. And are we too judgy? Because we always say when we're often putting advice out there, we're sharing advice on CVs, check it for spelling errors all the time. Get someone to proofread it for you. Is it just too easy to kind of judge someone and go, oh, there's an error in that, they don't know what they're doing? So yeah, I'd be interested to kind of get other people's take on it. What do you think?
In terms of tools, like you said, Grammarly, absolutely 100%. You can have it in Word as well. I mean, so anything you're writing, whether it's a letter or anything else, it's there all the time in the background. You don't have to turn it on and off. It's just there, isn't it? And wherever you're typing, it's following you around, correcting you basically. Sometimes can become annoying, but yeah. And like you said, we use it all the time, so definitely as a tool. But I don't know any other tools that would help that, to be honest.
I think that's the one that we use, isn't it, Jane? Sort of for blogs and things as well. Another thing that's quite useful, I don't know if you get it in the free version, but the plagiarism checker, so you can see sort of how much of your text is similar to maybe text taken from another website or something like that, and then you can always rephrase it, because obviously I believe that, again, Mark, you might correct me on this, but the higher the sort of the percentage of the plagiarism percentage, it will sort of negatively affect the SEO, because it's kind of a duplicate of the content on the other website. So less from a grammar perspective, but that's quite a useful tool within Grammarly, I guess. But in terms of being too judgy, I don't know. I think that's a really difficult question, because I'll hold my hands up, and I am quite judgy when it comes to grammar. I know Jane's the same, but I don't know. Now I feel quite bad. So I'm not sure. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's a really hard question. I feel like it's difficult, isn't it? Because when you are putting things out from an outside perspective, I guess, as a business, as a customer, you would look at something and you would expect it to have no mistakes, and therefore you'd associate that with them being professional business, a professional company. So I can see that, but then it's difficult when you have like possibly dyslexia or something like that, and you are nervous about it, and maybe there is a thing about us being too judgy in general, possibly. I don't know. What does anyone else think?
No, answer the phone. They've got an opinion.
I mean, like you said, Emily, I think I'm too judgy too. But I think, because part of a big part of my job, and Emily's as well, is to proofread things. So I find when I'm reading a book, I can't help proofreading it while I'm reading it, and it drives me mad. So I think, maybe we're not the best example, because we're, trained to be looking out for this stuff. And but it does annoy me when people write things, but I have to take a step back and go, no, it doesn't matter if they've spelled that wrong or used the wrong yaw. They've got their point across, blah blah blah. But like you said, Emily, I think as a business, you do need to maintain that level of professionalism, and tools like Grammarly will really help you do that. So but yeah, as a person,
you're right, there
is too judgy.
I think you're right. If you're a business, there's kind of no excuse. And I was going to say there's no excuse, but there's a prize if anyone can find a typo in this month's social snippet. It's not really a typo, but it's a slight error. And how many of us does that go through before it gets out there? So if anyone's got their copy of social snippets, let us know if you can find the very small error that, however many 8 pairs of eyes missed as it went out the door. So, in some ways, there's no excuse when it's a professional document, I would say, but equally we are all human. Someone raised a point because I put this question out there on a LinkedIn status to say what's your advice, and whether in email signatures is it worth kind of putting in there on the bottom of an email signature. Sometimes people will change them on their iPhone to say, oh, excuse any typos, I'm kind of writing this on the go, or something like that, or would you change it to say excuse any typos, but I'm not, I'm dyslexic, or I've got this kind of condition, or whatever it might be. But then should people have to explain themselves? So it's it's one of those debates I think that could really rumble. Somebody suggested maybe on LinkedIn we've got the little kind of status, the little icon that says open to work. Would you have one that says I'm dyslexic? But then again, would that put people off, rightly or wrongly? So I must admit I wasn't particularly in favour of that. So I don't think that people need to put a badge on themselves to say that they are dyslexic. Although Gabby's just commented saying, absolutely, my email signature says I have dyslexia, that's really interesting. That's great. That's good to know. Thank you, Gabby. I'm going to pass all these comments on to the client that I'm working with. So yeah, I feel like maybe it's okay to put it out there a bit, but I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the kind of the badge, the icon that said that.
I'm not sure about. I'm sort of the same as you, Amanda. I mean, I get the idea behind it, but I'm not sure if I would like that as much. I feel like it's yeah, I don't know. But I like the email signature idea, because I think a lot of people put different things in their email signature, and I think if the person feels comfortable to do that and that's what they want to do, then I think that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, it's personal choice, isn't it, really? If you're comfortable doing it, then and it helps you, then great, do it.
Yeah.
And certainly if you're replying to an email, on the go, someone wants a quick response. I must admit, sometimes if I'm sending a quick response, punctuation or capitalization kind of takes a bit of a lower priority. It's more yes, this is the thing, this is what you say. Sorry. But as Paul has just commented, grammar police can be annoying. So even though we might class ourselves as that's our job in that category, but you're right, I think it's our job, maybe if we're proofreading for clients, that if people are paying us for a service as an agency, then absolutely, we need to make sure we're kind of on point. But yeah, that doesn't mean that we'll necessarily go and comment on everyone's post going, you've spelled that wrong, you've done this.
I think we'd be in a lot of bad books.
I would agree. There we go. Other than that, for me, I've been, what else I've been doing? Writing web copy. So supporting you, Mark, getting ready some copy to drop into some beautifully designed new websites. Following up on a webinar I had last week about social media mistakes. So it's, I don't know about anybody else, but it does feel like this month is going super quickly.
Definitely.
We have got, a week till Easter?
Nearly 2 weeks till Easter.
Okay, all right.
Because I haven't bought any Easter eggs yet. Help. No, it's 2 weeks.
We've already eaten one of ours, but anyway.
So what else was I going to say? One thing I did notice, this is just a really small point this week about email marketing. So yesterday, just on my personal emails, when I went in them in the morning, I had so many messages that had a green shamrock emoji in them. So, and it was from companies like, I don't know, Groupon, or it might not have been Groupon, so apologies if I've just, but so it was a generic email newsletters from consumer goods, but I had 4 in a row that all had a little green shamrock emoji because it was St. Patrick's Day. So what do we think? And actually, it's a shame Christina's not here, because I think she'd probably have some good stats on this. So just quickly, what do we think about using emojis in subject lines or opening on email newsletters? Good thing, bad thing, overdone?
I think it's a good thing, but I think in that case, Amanda, like that sort of thing, you'd have to be. I think it's good because it does usually make emails stand out, especially when I receive them. I think they do stand out, the emails that have emojis. But if all emails had the same emoji for a specific event, like St. Patrick's Day, then obviously that's not going to work, because it's the same as everybody else that's got the same idea.
Yeah, we've had some comments saying it was St. Patrick's Day. I had picked up on that. I didn't just think it was a coincidence. There was lots of green shamrocks. I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day, but that's what I mean. It felt like, and again, we talk about this quite a lot on Live Lunch. bandwagon, jumping on a bandwagon for a particular movement. And to me, it kind of felt like, I don't know, there was no link. There was absolutely no link for these brands to be jumping on that. So it just felt a bit like, someone in marketing's gone, oh, quick, let's just put something in there. And I don't know, it felt a bit, could have done it better.
It's funny, actually, because obviously I do a lot of our social media stuff. And I said to Mark yesterday, I said, I don't know if I've got bandwagonitis. I'm not sure what to do about St. Patrick's Day. But then actually we thought, do you know what? We actually have quite a few Irish clients now. So I did, because it was relevant. But for a minute, I sat there thinking, is this relevant to us? And you're right, you do just need to stop and think about it for a minute and not just jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
There were so many things that were bandwagon jumping, though. Like the Saints did a discount because it was St. Patrick's Day. I'm not sure where the correlation is, but, but hey, if it generated some sales online, then it's one of those things.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's it, I suppose. Okay, so before we wrap up, so Gabby's commented again saying it's about smart use of emojis, not just using for the sake of it, basically. So it can get a bit annoying. You really need to kind of link the emoji to your brand and make sure it's clear. And Paul has commented saying it kind of depends on your age. He's not an emoji fan in general, especially on LinkedIn profiles, #grumpy-old-man. So Paul, you're not a grumpy old man, you're lovely. So, love to you this week in particular. But yeah, I think, it's absolutely, Gabby, it's about kind of smart use of them, putting them in the right place at the right time. And it can have an impact, but yeah, maybe not overuse, depending on your target market.
Yeah,
definitely.
Anything else? Any more before we wrap up?
I haven't got anything else.
Well, Christina's obviously finished her meeting, is probably putting her feet up, enjoying a coffee, which it was aunt, wasn't it? So Nicola in the States has said hi, and she's probably having a coffee, so she probably is. But she will be back next week, as will we. And we've got a guest next week, Jane?
Yes, we have. We've got Heidi Mark joining us, who's sort of well-being and I don't know, what else does she do? Sorry.
So Heidi's great, isn't she? She's helped us.
Helped us a lot. I can't describe what she does. Sorry.
I think a good way of positioning her is working with people perhaps who are verging on burnout, who are working in a corporate world, but they're just not well. They're not performing. So maybe a year anniversary to kind of little pulse check and sense check of where are we now. Are we all doing okay? And she's going to have some pearls of wisdom to share, I'm sure. So join us again next week, midday, on Green Umbrella Facebook, Green Umbrella YouTube, or Christina's LinkedIn. Is that everything?
I think so.
I got all the channels. There we go. Fabulous. Now we all have to smile so Emily can take our picture.
And wave.
And
Can't normally hear that.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.